So we have a new topic today. It's not really a new topic. We'll dive a little deeper inside the Flask. Flask can do to you to work with the web services, although you do not have a web server. Of course, you do not have a web. You do not have a web server. You do not have IP numbers, or you do not have any such things. That's still possible. So we do a little bit of a little more about the Flask that we started last week. Next week we'll do real system building on Google Cloud. So you guys need to do to set up the Google Cloud. I will guide you. I will let you know how you can do. It is not. You don't have any confusion on that. Unlikely like this. This Flask is a new idea in the market, in the technologies, but the cloud services, cloud computing has been on the market for 2 decades, so there's no confusion at all. You can just follow, but each individual students may not have that experience at all while you are in college. But we'll jump into that, the real world systems from next week. So today, Flask, a little more than what we did last week. So last week we did, oops, this is not right. Did I bring this too early? Okay, it's not yet. This is going to be next week. PHP, MySQL, Apache Web. This will be the next week. Today we still do this. Okay, I'm not sure. This is what we are going to do today. But last week we did only Python and Flask, right? This is what we did last week. Today we'll do, we include the MySQL. We did this last week. There are 2 ways that we can access a Flask lightweight web server. 2 ways. One with the regular web browser, the other one in command line, which is a C URL. So we'll do that. We'll continue to do that. But when we include the database, a little more work required. Okay. So there is a Flask API. I want you to take a look at that first. Let's see here. I want to make one more. So here's a Flask. Oops, this is not going to run as is. So if we, then I think I can. Okay, this is a Flask API. So everything that we use here in this API is, for example, app dot before request, app dot after request, that type of things can be explained here. Okay, so while you are working on this, if you have any question, you can freely check out this website. It explains almost in full scale, so you can get some idea. but rather than looking at that API from A to Z, then it takes maybe a semester or several weeks. We don't do that. But as you do following programming, coding, you can learn a little bit. Later, if you happen to work into this issue, then you can gain more knowledge and concepts and skills. That's fine. But today we will do only something that we need. Here, you need to import Flask request and JSONify. So we want to access MySQL, right? Then MySQL can return the data. I do not receive the data. I cannot receive the data like I walk directly on the terminal where there is MySQL running, which means a table format. I don't receive anything in table format if I am accessing remotely. And the new technology, the current technologies, whatever you want to share remotely, then the data formats dominantly used is JSON. So I assume you guys know the JSON data formats. So I'm not going to explain that in detail. So this module convert the table format of data into JSON, okay? How you can interpret the JSON depends on the platform that you are going to work on. For example, if you want to do that on Python, then maybe a little bit easier. But if you want to work on that, for example, iPhone's Swift language, then a little bit more work. Because everything that you do on Swift, on iPhone, then the user interface is involved. But here, on your laptop, on Google, we don't care much about the user interface, only command line. We could do that, but may not have enough time, and we go to other direction also. This is not a database itself. Okay, so we need to, another thing that we need to import is mysql.connector. Of course, with this, we can talk to MySQL you already installed on your system. And then the third one is something, if you have an error, then it tells you the kinds of errors. But error messages from databases is less likely, friendlier for two purposes, purposely. Why? Because if you, I mean, when I was a student, like 30 years ago, then DBMS gives you very friendly error messages. Right now, if database gives you friendly, detailed error messages, then what would happen? Knowing that error messages, you may be able to attack. Okay? So they disguise all details. Even so, you can get some error messages by having this mysql.connector. After this, you need to create an object, application object of Flask. That is the statements here. Okay? You need to construct an object of Flask, and you call it app. And after this, whatever you say, app, then that is some of the application of this, okay? Like this. Where? Here, app dot before request, app dot after request. They are all the methods, all the fields associated with that applications. That's what I explained here. App dot before request what it does is to register the function to run before each request to the object. When this app is requested, app object is requested either from your web browser or from your C URL. If that application is, that app object is requested, then before doing anything additional and sequence or logic, do this function first. So in this case, we need to first connect, of course, right? We have to connect the database because that's what we are doing here. If connection is done, then hey, we need to close. This is the language that we close. In order to connect and close the database, this is the thing. You know, this is in Python, the dictionary formats. So you can, with that credential, you can connect to the database with the double star star. You know what double star star means in Python, right? When you receive the arguments into the function, if you want to receive the data in dictionary formats, rather than sending piece of data, let's say you have 10 data sets. Though no explicit indicating what this data means, then you have to do a lot of things in your the function codings. Therefore, you need to use the dictionary. So even though you make a dictionary, if you say a name, colon, John, whatever that is, then your Python function does not take it. So here's a very, very handy ways that you could do star star. So single star means the repetition of the arbitrary number of arguments to the function. Double star means that is the arguments in a dictionary formats. So all of this can fit in here in this connect function. So with this credential informations, when you create your MySQL database, when you installed it, you already installed in the local host. What is the port number that when you installed yours?
Local host?
Port number.
Something 27. 127.
No. Port numbers. You don't remember that? Yeah.
For MySQL, right?
Yeah,
Default
MySQL. Yeah.
number for MySQL. Isn't it 127? No.
No, well, that is IP. I think 3309. But we don't do it here because localhost, and in this case, this guy handles all of those. But when you do that in typical Python language to access database, then you need to put there, hey, even if you are working on the same local host, you have to specify which port that you want to get in. Therefore, where there is MySQL is running, right? But anyway, I think 3309.
Okay.
Oh, is it 06?
I may be different version. I just Googled it up.
Well, 609.
Yeah.
Upside down. I may be wrong. All right, anyway. And then database that you already created. Did you create the database? Not yet?
Yes, but...
I didn't ask you to create. Yeah, we need to create database. And then user, did you create user ID there? Or still
that was
root?
the homework that you gave us last time.
Homework Did I ask you to create user? Your user credentials?
No, just the root.
So you don't know how to create users, right?
I mean, we can. I think within the database config, there was a step to create the user if we wanted, but I just created the root user.
The root is by default you have to create when you install it, but you didn't create your own user. We will do that also. Then user create in my case, JYOON number 8, and password JYOON number 8. The reason I use the same thing is because I keep forgetting. If I put here my user ID, then number 1. Number 2, I don't want you to see my password when I explain my code, right? And although, is it dangerous right now?
Yeah.
It's dangerous because it can access from, not yet, but we'll get to that, okay?
I mean, even showing that, right? Then people could think like, oh, do you do that for your other account?
If you're working on Mac, yes, it is vulnerable. If you're working on Windows, Windows is not service. Windows doesn't have you don't have services. But Mac is a Linux, so vulnerable from outside the attack. But Windows is not really, unless you run extra services. Okay, this is a credential. So with that credential, we connect the database. So this function, db connect, from here there, there's a connected database. And these two functions are pre and post process when any request comes into this object, app. Okay? So db connect and db close. Next one. Now once our database being connected from my Flask, then we have to run it. So app.route, if you come to somewhere here, then there is a app.route, so you can run it. You can understand it. Here is the app.route. In your route, you have to. The first argument is a rule. Next argument is some of the options. The star option means when you use option, then you need to use the option, the keyword, and the value in dictionary formats. So, for example, this is a first argument is a rule. Okay. Second argument, then we need to say this is the key and this is the value, right? I want to use the methods. So what is the value of the methods? I want to get. The other one is I want to use a method, or in this case, get. I want to use the methods, but I want to post. So you see the difference between get and post, right, in HTTP protocols. So if you do get, then you want to access the data. If you want to do post, then you want to send the data to that server and may be likely to update, in our case, MySQL. So read this route. So simply, first argument is rule. Let's see here, the explanation. Decorate. If you say root function, then decorates a view function to register it with the given URL rule and options. Well, this is not much helpful. Call add URL rule, which has more details about the implication. So you may read this. So example for that is if you say this app is an object dot route. This is what we are talking about right now. The rule is what? Slash. Slash means I want to access the top level within that Flask virtual environment. So I'm going to work on that virtual environment, the top levels. And then if user says index, then I would say hello world. So depending upon this information here, under users, if we say users, then we want to get users. You have to look at this very carefully. This guy says users, plural. This guy says user slash some other data in integer type, and the other one here user simply singular. So we have the directory user singular, one simply for the purpose of a posting, which means if we want to send data into it. The other one is simply user, and with the, some of the data. In this case, the method is get, so we want to receive something. Users, same thing, we want to receive something. So let's look at the function itself inside. This guy is a function called the get users. The other one is a get user, and the other one is add user. So if you want to get users, then you set up, we construct an object of a cursor. This request.db has a function called the cursor. You guys learned the database management systems, right? So you know the cursor, what the cursor means. Did you do somehow the host language in host language in this way? SQL embedded host language executions. You guys done on database course? Only within DBMS, or only within DBMS, or did you code something in any other languages and let that language access your Oracle, or you did, right? Then you guys know this. Okay. Then cursor. So you call the cursor functions, then you have an object of a cursor. This is a cursor. So with that cursor, you can execute the cursor in database. But cursor is not the database language. Cursor is the language. Cursor is the language in your any language where if that language facilitates database access, then cursor is an object. So you create a cursor within the database. So from there, you can do execute. You can do the SQL statements. Look at this. Cursor is an object of a cursor. This cursor can execute method function. That execute function takes SQL statements. So select from where that type of statements, or you can do insert, or you can create database. Create database is a little different, but create tables. You can alter, modify, whatever the data definitions. That is also possible here. Once you have that, so this, where are we? We are in Python, right? Particularly Flask. Flask written in Python. So the language here is very similar to Python. If you have an experience SQL embedded Python, then this is nothing but Python language. So that cursor object, once this SQL statement is executed successfully, then cursor holds the result. Okay? So we have cursor.fetch all. Then I want to get all the result which is held by the cursor. All the result. And I call it users. And that user is converted to JSON. And then that JSON is sent out. This concept is a concept of JSON server or RESTful server. You guys heard of a RESTful server or REST servers. Anything that you get the data remotely, for example, from Wall Street server or from Metro North train schedule server, train schedule data, or maybe movie schedules on the theater. Anything that you receive remotely over the internet, then you receive it in JSON. What would happen? What does the server can do to you? Server exactly execute SQL statements and then get the result and convert the result. Result is nothing but the table formats, right? Convert a table into JSON formats. Then when you receive it, then you see the JSONs, okay? This is about get users, okay? The other one is get user ID. Here, this guy does not take any input to run that function. Get user, there is input arguments. If I send you user ID, give me the result. So what does it do inside? Select start from users where ID is the given ID. Okay? If I give you my ID, then you can give me all the information about me. That's what it is, right? So I want to get my data. That's what this second function can do. Third one here, add user. In this case, the method is post. Okay? So data can be posted. How can you get the data? Not through this function arguments. Look at this. This guy's request the data in JSON format, and we call it new user. That new user is used here. Here, I want to insert into users name and email. So name is the name. Key is name in that dictionary. New user is nothing but dictionary types. Okay, this is a dictionary types. JSON is kind of dictionary types. So for the key name, I can get the name, real name. For the key email, I can get the real value for email. And that name and email will be the value for the table insertions. Table is called the users. And then finally, because I insert a new row in that table, don't forget to commit it, right? Commit is important in this case, unless otherwise what happens if you forgot to commit? It may not, whatever you update data, all DBMS, Oracle, MySQL, whatever DBMS that you are using, data you play is performed in the memory. In memory, it's not on disk. Your SQL is not performing on the disk. Your SQL is performing on the memory. So what happens? If you don't save it, you may lose it, right? So commit means anything updated in the database needs to be flush to the disk. Okay? Commit means flushing. The other two is a fetching. Fetching means get the data from disk in memory. There's a fetching, flushing, whatever updates in the database in memory should be flushed into the real disk. Any question about this? So a little bit of, I mixed the database technologies and everything here. Okay, with that, okay, now we need to do that. Actually, before you do this, I want you to make a make directory, mkdir. Maybe CISC. No, you don't need to say that. Flask. Flask. Flask MySQL. Let's do it together. Okay. I already made some of the Flask here, but I want to do together with you. So mkdir Flask MySQL, which means not just simple Flask. We're going to work on the Flask and ask Flask to connect MySQL, which is running on my laptop. And then cd Flask MySQL. And then pip install this one. Install MySQL. You're my students, right? I thought you went to Dobbsbury.
Yeah, I was thinking to go back.
Flask MySQL connect.python. So Python pip install Flask MySQL dash connector dash Python. Okay, it looks like it is okay. Okay. And then we go to database. I want to push this a little bit here and make another shell. Go to my database. MySQL, okay. Each one has different location to run your MySQL, but for Mac users, you may be able to follow me. In the bin directory, then you can see MySQL. So /MySQL -u. Right now you don't need to do this. You can do root. You guys have a root password, right? As you install. So I want to go with you. And show databases. Then you can see the database. I already had the DB545 DB database, but I want to make another one. Well, I want to do this. I want to drop DB545 DB database. You guys do not have a database, so you don't need to follow this. Okay. If you have already a database called the DB505, then I want you to drop it the way that I do. I drop, so I do not have a DB545 right now. So when I do show databases, then I do not have that, right? So right now you need to create database. DB505. That's what I made here on this slide. Create database DB545. Do it. And also on your Flask Python code, in order to access database, you guys do not want to show root password, right? You need to create your own individual password. So let's do that. Create user. JYOON545. You need to say create user, not use. Create user JYON545 at localhost identified by, I want to use the same it is vulnerable, but as I said, to present the database access, I need to make a database credentials, my database user ID and password on my codings. So I need to do that here also. So create, oops, not create users, create user. Create user JYOON545 at localhost identified by password ending with a semicolon, right? That is database requirements. Why do we do a semicolon? Unless otherwise, what happens? Why? Why database language should end with a semicolon? Because database description may be very long. You cannot write that long expression in one line. And also, you want to do like this, switch to next line, continue to work more and more. So finally, if we say semicolon, then that is the time that statement can be executed altogether. Boom. So that is executed, right? So JYOON545 is created. Now you can, once it is created, what you need to do?
Professor, why do we do a call house?
Are you going to connect it to other database?
No.
What that means is that we can connect to other database remotely as well. Maybe may or may not later if we do the Python codings in Google Colab, for example, then Google Colab is it my local device or is it somewhere out there?
It's somewhere I think out there.
Right, it's in the Google's
Yes.
company, right? So if I code my Python on Google Colab and save it, then it's saved in the Google Drive, which I can access, but it is not on my laptop. That is a remote. From that Python code, if I let that Python code to connect my local machines, okay, then we need to specify which database that you need to do. Okay. Once you create user, what do you need to do? Each user in a database may have different privileges, right? Until a user is authorized to do something, that user cannot do anything. User has no privileges right now. So we need to grant the privileges to the user. For simplicity, I want to grant all the privileges. So grant all privileges. That is the language, plural. If you want to grant only select privilege, then you need to say grant select privilege singular. But if you want to, for simplicity, let's put everything on, and then we need to specify which item that you want to do. Item in this case, which database, which table. Again, for simplicity, I want to let JUN 545 access all the data where there are all the table. So star dot star. First star is for database. Second star is for table. So you can specify, hey, I want to grant select privilege on university.payroll. Then that person can select only on that specific database on that specific table. But in our case, star dot star. I want to grant that to whom? JYON 545, again, at localhost. Successfully done. Now we want to quit this. I created the database, but I didn't create a table yet, right? So let's do quit this and then re-enter with my JYON 545. Okay. So JYON 545. So I got in with my new credential, JYON. And I want to see show databases. I see DB545. So in this slide, next thing is that you need to choose a because I have a multiple different databases. So I need to choose one database. The language is called use. So use DB545. Say show tables, if there is any tables. Of course, no tables, right? Because I didn't create anything. Right now, JY545 is on this, right? So let's see if I can create tables. So I want to create this. Can I copy this? I think I can copy this. Well, I'll type it because you guys need to type also. So create table, and table name is users. Watch this. At this point, I can hit enter button so that it can go into the next line of that command line. Until I put semicolon, my database command would not do anything. So here ID is integer. We want to say auto increment. So ID can be automatically incremented. Auto underscore increment. I would say the ID is my primary key. So you can do the primary key here, or you can do once you do, then you have to do it. Primary key. And then you can continue to say name, that is varchar 100. I want to say text instead of a varchar. And the email, type for email, I would say also text. Therefore simple, right? And then finally semicolon, then it'll be created. Show tables. Then I have table name users. If I want to see the schema of this table, then you need to say descriptions. So describe table name. Table name is users. Describe. Then you can see ID, type of ID is integer. Name text. Email type text. And then primary key is the ID. Extra auto increment. Okay. So let's try to insert one into users values, and I wanted to put yours, so you can. Oh, we need to put here because we don't put ID, but name and email only. Then you need to spell that out here before you do values. You don't need to put ID. Also, although non-null is not allowed, but it automatically incremented from, I think, 1, so you don't need to do. So name, you can say your name, and email johnyoon@mercy.edu. Close and semicolon, then it, boom, get in. Select from users, then you can see that once. See, this ID is automatically inserted, right? Because we said the auto increment. Only name and email. So name and email that I entered. So I have this. So my database is okay. Next one. I need to create this file. From here, the 2 page in one file. Okay. And I want to run it as it says. I can run it Python and that Python files. So I need to create that Python files. So creation of Python code on that directory is up to you. Whatever the editor that you can use. What editor? Are you guys following or are you watching? Simply what I am doing. This is a homework assignment. So already I posted, right? You guys need. If you do here, then you can simply make a screenshot and give it to me. But otherwise, you have to. If you're a little bit of confusion and needs more time to follow, you can do that at home because everything is recorded. Okay. So now I'm worrying about you guys here. What editor are you going to use to create a Python file?
Visual Studio, yeah.
No, here on your, yeah, you can use Visual Studio. Okay. Terminal.
Oh.
We are now on terminal. Yeah, you can save your Visual Studio and save it on this directory. Where are we? I am. I'm now here, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can save it there. The one that I'm using, and I'm using simply I put there vi my app. I want to do it different way. My SQL app.py. Okay, vi mode. What I want to do, because I already explained this. You guys can do also. Everything here and paste on the next page. Also, I make one more line and paste. Everything pasted, and I want to save this. Now to see if you guys can, we take time to do it. Because the next one is the Python, the Python file. As I do here. Python and whatever file name that you created. So in this case, I created mysql app.py. If I want to see it, then this is the file. I want to make double check if this is any unnecessary code involved. Oh, here, user ID not anymore, JYON8, right? Yeah, that is the thing that I need to check. So I need to do vi user ID. I change it to 545. Password again 545. And before request, after request, and then I have a routing for users. I want to access, select from users. Let's see, what is the file name of mine? Yeah, it is users here, so that's fine. And then okay, looks fine so far. So I can save this and run it. Successfully running, right? This?
Yes, more. Wow.
Credential here?
Yeah, more up.
Only this from here.
Okay,
That-
and before the one.
The other one
before?
is this.
Okay.
That is on your lecture notes. Do you guys want me to post this Python code on Blackboard? Let's do that. Rather than computing, rather than editing. Editing takes so long, right?
We created
So-
a new folder, right? Before
That's,
running the.
Yeah, you better, yeah. Oh, you want to see
Yeah.
that structure, file structure? I think I,
This lecture is being recorded, right? Sir?
huh?
This lecture is being recorded?
Lecture notes is being recorded, yeah, right now.
Should be.
Hold on. What am I doing? Oh, here. I want to quit this database. Oh, I didn't. Okay, let me get it. So, cd mercy there, and I have Flask MySQL. So cd Flask MySQL pwd, then this is the directory. So finally here, Flask MySQL, where there is only this, mysql app.py. If you want, then I better post that for you guys to follow. Okay, so that's a sample file. That I can give it to you. So I posted it. If you want to, you can download and use as is. Not as is. You need to change that to your database name, your user ID, and password accordingly the way that you created it. And now, right now, it works this way, right? So as I said, this Python code, if I request something through that app, then as I explained, there is a pre and post functions are executed. Pre function to be executed is to connect to the database. So we will see if it is connected to database. So first thing that I need to do is here, I'm going to use a terminal. Okay. If I want to retrieve, I can do this. Okay. Here's my C URL. And then HTTP 127.0.0.1:5000. 5000 is the port number designated by the Flask. So no other port number that you can use, only fixed 5,000. And then if I want to, here the route is users. What does that mean? If you see the route here, users, or user with some ID, or simply user and then post. Post is something different, right? To update it. So if you do users, then definitely what it does is that select start from users. So see if it goes that way. If I say here users and hit enter, then you can get the result in JSON formats. This is the JSON formats. Remember that I created my email, jyon@merge.edu. My name is John, and ID is number 1, because it just created, right? That I left from my database here. That's the way that you can do the URL. I mean CURL using the terminals. The other one is if you send some other, like singular user, in other words here, singular user, but still request, then you need to put here user ID, whatever the user ID that you need to do. So here, if I say /1, then I'll get this guy, John Yoon, right? If you want to update, in other words, if you want to do post, then you need to do it this way. This is insertion ways. You see URL and -x post http://127.0.0.1:5000, and then user. Into that user route, I want to do header. I want to say, hey, this is my JSON file. Then you need to say content type :application. This format that I am using, this header format, is the format that was defined in this protocol, HTTP protocol. This language is not Python language. That is nothing has to do with the Flask. That is for HTTP protocol. And -d, that is the option, comes with the CURL command. There I want to do JSON formats within quote, so that I can say here, if you do double quote, then everything that you do inside that should be used in single quote. If you use single quote outside, then everything that you want to do the quote make it double. Therefore, this guy understands whole thing is the string, is a text. So unlikely here in this example, I put here double quote outside, then everything inside that I need to use is single quote. Name, single quote. In the dictionary format, then I can say, I want to insert new ones, okay? So I want to insert, for example, Tahidul Akbar, so Tawhidul Akbar, and email is, I would say, TA1234 at, which company do you want to join in your dream? This is just fake email.
General Motors.
General Motors.
I used to work for them. GM.
I know. Why mobile company? Why not Tesla? Okay,
Yeah,
General
someday.
Motors. Okay, let's do Tesla. Tesla.com. And then ending with the semicolon. Therefore, remember here, if you see this data, outside the double quote, anything that you declare within that dictionary key and value pair, then there's a single quote. Single quote name, single quote title Akpa, single quote email, single quote TA1234 at tesla.com. Okay, so that is the C URL. I want to access my database through URL terminal. See if it is inserted. Hit enter. And also remember that if there is any error, MySQL error, then in this Python, I put there mysql.connector import error. So error message will come out. So hit enter. Oh, failed to decode the JSON files existing property names in there. Then I think I need to put, I want to switch double quote to single quote and single quote to double quotes to see it works that way. Outside the single. So outside the single quote, inside the. Okay, hit enter. What happens? Wait. Let's see. Okay. HTTP 127.0.0.1 user -h content type application JSON -d. Hit enter. Oh, something strange. Let's see if I can copy this as is. Oh, so successfully done. Did I have some errors, typo? message, content type, application JSON minus. Oh, this is mismatched because double quote but single quote. That is the reason. Okay, it went in. So next thing that I want to do, I want to see users. So how many users are inserted right now in my database? When I put that and my database sent to me 2 rows. One for John, the other for, I use John Doe. So John Doe. So if I want to do as I originally want to do, for example, Akbar and email AK1234 and then tesla.com. Tesla.com, so it went in. So if I retrieve the records in my database, then I have ID 3 is Akbar, ID 2 is John Doe, ID 1 is John, right? So it can be done in using terminal. So terminal is fine. What about in my web page? So if I do the similar thing in my web page, I'll do here. Okay, so 127.0.5000, and if I say users, enter, then I have those 3s, right? So you can access either the command line CURL or the web browser. If you want to access the particular ones, so user, and if you put the number 3, then you can get the third one only, ak123.tesla.com, okay? But as I said, here in this, my class notes, retrieval is okay, as you can see here. Insertion is the issue. In web browser, how can you insert?
Well, you need a form, HTML element.
Right.
Postman.
So more work.
Yeah.
That's explained in the next slide. You need to create this kind of HTML. When you do create this HTML, you have to create in the next slide, I probably see here, right? In your project, your Python code here, in order to make your HTML files, you need to create subdirectories. Name fixed, templates, no other names. So what you need to do here, you need to mkdir templates. So when you do here, then you have templates and your app, as you can see this. Inside the templates, then you need to create add user.html files, which I can show here. Right? So add users. This is simply you name it. You can name differently. Add user.html, or you can say adder.html. Fine. I call it differently, adder. And then if I'm not sure if I can. If we put here user and adder, we need to say adder.html. Yeah, right now why it doesn't go through? Because this Python code right now not yet ready to handle that HTML files within that templates. So you have to update that here. So you have to Control C and then update your file the way that I ask you to do here. You need to modify add user function. Where's the add user? This is as add user function, right? This should be updated like this. So you can copy this, and I want to change this to paste. So add user was pasted, and this is all the add user. So I want to delete this. So that is updated. One thing that I need to do more, because my Flask Python file does not render templates. So I have to say here, render template. On top of this, then I need to say render underscore template. Render templates. Render templates, and all other the same, but one more thing that you have to do here, add the user form. Add the user form. This should be done. And then template, render template, rather than saying add user, because I change it to adder, it should be say adder.html. Okay. So what it does here is that in addition to the previous, I need to import one more module so that my HTML can be rendered. Remember that in where's my, yeah, here. This is not rendered. So I need to render it. And then the one that I need to call is add user as underscore add underscore user underscore form. That's what I need to do. So I need to save this and then run that Python. See if there is any error. So it is active, nothing worry about. Now we need to change the one. Which one that I need to call? I need to call I need to show it to you, the file, cat. So I need to call this guy. In this route, top route, I need to say add user form. Okay. So Python is running. Here, rather than HTML, I need to say here add underscore user underscore form. Hit enter. Oops, it's not working. 4. Oh, yeah, because I said here user. It's not with the user, but that URL directly add user form. Then I can get that, and I can add one more. For example, Ali Malik, email is am9999 at gm.com. I changed gm.com. Successfully done. If I want to get that again, 127.0.0 and users, then I can get all 4 users, right? Ali Malik also. So it can be inserted by the HTML form that I created. The HTML form, I don't think I need to explain that to you, right? You guys understand what it is. Here, this is the form and input text name, and then another one is email, and then button submit. This HTML is running because I mentioned here when this add underscore user form is running, then we need to put here adder.html in my case, right? So how do you know that this this HTML runs? It is because I said here yeah. Yeah, this guy says here, when, this is something that how do you know that when this HTML runs, then internally it goes into user. Internally it goes into user. So what user does is that it, if you see the user, here user, then it can do insert. As it insert, then it receives the JSON format of new user information, and that can be entered into it. So I'm using the same the post function, same post function to handle the request from CURL or request from HTML. A little bit of complicated, but systematically, I think it you guys can understand. For example, by having this HTML, then you can, yeah. This is a lightweight of a web server. That web server connects to your back-end database and provide you the service, which is brand new concept. Without having to create your web server, database server, anything in professional way, which we will do next week. But today we'll do in the simple way. So your homework, and we'll explain your homeworks. If you go to your homeworks, I said here, create database on your MySQL. You already created the users, for example, and create all necessary files, including HTML file, Python file, and Python needs to be updated to handle HTML. And then you can access in two ways, using C URL or a web browser, and then list users. The first thing that you need to show is to add new user, some more user, and then list users. What I ask you to do, to give me the screenshots only. I don't want, how can I evaluate yours? Because yours is running on your local host. I cannot, right? So give me the screenshots. But don't forget, in your web here, your name should be first, because that's yours. So I want to see, oh, is it created by you? So your name should be first, and then the rest you can do whatever exercise that you could do to increase, to add more into your MySQL. Any comments, question? Little bit complicated, but unless you do on your own by yourself manually, still you do not understand it clearly. But once you've done this successfully, yeah, first few times maybe error, the error that I had, right? You might have an error, but that's okay. Error helps you improve your skill sets. Without errors, your skills cannot be improved, from my experience. If you are so lucky, then one time you can succeed. But if you do it, you cannot say you are lucky. Later, you may have the mistake. If you take the mistake at your interviews, then that is unluck, right? So you better make mistake while you are learning. So at your interviews, you need to do it without failure. That is your success. Any question, any comments? So this is the next homework assignments. I'll see you next week. Next week, probably, I think we need to stay home because we need to set up everything on the Google. What that means is that lots of mistake expected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to record the way that I create Google Cloud servers. So Apache, PHP, MySQL, everything that a little bit about this. And then you can follow my recordings at home. And homework assignments for next week is very simple. Your website needs to be accessed from anywhere, because that is your server. One thing that I give you the tip. Once you set up that successfully, if you don't give your credit card information, your URL is not accessible from outside. But don't be afraid. Give your credit card. I did mine too also. They never charged so far because I don't use much. So if you don't use much, they don't charge you.
You're talking about Google Cloud.
Yeah, Google Cloud.
So by anywhere, you really do mean like if I
Yeah,
s-
go through until
anywhere.
if your the IP address cannot be accessed from outside, which means they don't open it.
Yeah.
So give your credit card, then immediately they can open it. So you can access your cloud server so that I can create yours. I can do only, I don't ask you to do any materials ready on the Google server, Google Cloud servers. Only get it ready. And then the following week, then we can add something one after another and another. So we can do a little bit of microservice applications. That's what we want to practice. Okay. So don't forget, don't be afraid to give your credit card to Google. They don't. I'm not sure if, but my case, right? Google is a big company, so they don't really treat you guys, a student. They don't. I mean, not trick. They don't trick anything against me so far. So hopefully you guys will be okay, even if you give them your credit card. And once this class is done, you may shut down yours, and that's fine. All right? Okay. See you next week. Oh, we don't see next week, but we'll see maybe the 2 weeks from today. But next week, you can follow my
So next week
video.
is online, or just you
video.
Okay.
I'm going to post my, because the thing is this, when I do this, I fail this way and that way because it is not something not manageable at my side. Then we have to wait. Yeah. So I want to make successfully short video recordings so that you can follow. Okay.
Asynchronous. That's what they call it, right?
Yeah, async online, asynchronous online. Okay.